Get ready to explore conversations that resonate with TK Ntebe, your trusted voice in personal finance, travel, and lifestyle. The Open Korner podcast is where Africa's brightest minds, thought leaders, and trailblazers come together to inspire change, challenge norms, and spark new ideas.
Welcome to the fifth element of the Open Korner podcast, where we have great conversations with thought leaders, trailblazers, and people who are making a big difference in society and, of course, our country, Lesotho. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TK Ntebe, also known as the Finance Traveler, because we are working very hard to catch our flights, save our money so that we can move on to the next destination. In studio today, my guest is the first CEO who is female to lead one of the biggest banks in Lesotho. She has over 20 years working experience in the financial services sector, especially within the banking fraternity. And today we are going to get to know her and really get to understand what drives her, the decisions she makes, how she deals with failure, and sometimes the impostor syndrome. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Delekazi Mokebe, CEO of FNB Lesotho, a mom, a trailblazer, and somebody that I have watched blossom into, what's the word I'm looking for, immediately?
I don't know, you tell me.
The corporate ladder within the banking industry in Lesotho and South Africa. Welcome to the Open Korner podcast.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It is a very cold day.
It is a very cold day. There's something that we do every time we are shooting an episode here at the Open Korner. It's usually one of the coldest days.
But it is the season, so it's to be expected.
It's to be expected. Yeah. And for us, we were actually stuck with the team yesterday, Modi, to venture into Afiski to shoot content.
Oh, wow.
And my series is actually not that cold. Modi was freezing last night.
Oh, clearly you survived.
Clearly we survived. So let's start with a round of questions just to know you. Okay. Icebreaker activities, right? Icebreaker questions. So, first and foremost, for people who don't know who Medeli is, who are you?
That's such an interesting question all the time that I get. And the way that I define who I am is to say I am God's highly favored child. That's just who I am. That's how I define myself.
Sure.
Highly favored, highly loved.
Highly favored, highly loved.
That's it.
That's it.
That's who I am.
No accolades, no I'm a what, highly favored, because I think that is all encompassing, if I understand it. All right, a round of icebreaker questions. What song are you playing in your car?
Oh my goodness, what song am I playing? So as I came here, I was listening to Closer. It's actually a worship song. I just can't remember. There's Brendan. There's quite a lot of them. That's what I'm currently listening to. I play it every single day.
What? So if you play it every single day, what about that song is important to you, coupled to your daily routine?
Just so that I make a disclaimer, in case everyone thinks I'm this highly religious, spiritual person, I just am as normal as every one of us can be. But for me, that's how I start my day. That's how I maintain myself during the day. And that song, Closer, for me is just about, I just want to be so much more closer to you, God.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Sure. A book that you're reading, couple that you have read that has changed your perspective or your approach to life and leadership.
So I must confess, I'm one of those who read quite a number of books at the same time. I'll be reading this one and finishing this one after just having finished this one. So that's my confession to make. So currently I'm reading a book called Captivating. It's by a couple called Stacy and John L. Drush, something like that. And it's just about how, as women, we have been created to live the lives that we actually should be living as women. And funny enough, the chapter that I'm in the middle of the book, the chapter that I was reading last night, is called Romanced. I was like, Romanced.
Okay.
All right. I'm like, okay, that should be interesting. It's just about how, as women, literally God wants to romance us. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Wow, that is deep.
What does that even mean? So it's just about how, as women, we should feel close enough to him, because if someone is romancing you, it means they want to be with you.
Sure.
And they want the best for you.
Sure.
So that's currently what I'm reading. But recently, I also read a very interesting book that normally I would never pick. So in my recent retreat, I out of hundreds of books, I happened to pick this one. You can imagine shelves and shelves of books.
Sure.
And just for some weird reason, I just picked out that one. It's called All About Love, I think that's what it's called, by some Dr. Brian Weissy. And it's a subject that I would never delve into, incarnation. Like, ooh,
wow.
Okay. So it's about these two people who are soulmates and who over different parts of their lives, they have just been somehow with each other. And really the message of the book that I picked out for me is just about the power of love, the power of forgiveness, and the power of the choices that we make in our lives.
The choices
that we make in our lives. And those are the messages for me that I picked up. And just about also listening to that inner voice that we so often ignore.
And talking about the inner voice, I think in episode 1, we spoke to Mae Mamelo Pumane, where she spoke about the inner campus, that inner voice. How often do you listen to that inner voice, and how often do you trust it?
You should ask me how often I ignore it, because it's always there. And for some reason, we choose to ignore it, but I try to listen to it quite often, because I've realized, I think the power that lies within listening to that inner voice. It will be there, nagging you.
And you'll hear it, and you just silently.
And you will silently decide to ignore it until you can't ignore it anymore.
Sure.
So it's there all the time. We just need to choose to listen to it.
Last question of icebreakers. Favorite travel destination that you fond memories, whether it's a business trip, whether it's a family trip, whether it's a solocation, yeah. Favorite travel destination or travel memory?
Oh, wow. So I think I'll choose 2 if I'm allowed to.
That's perfect. I can even choose 3.
I absolutely love spending time with my family, my 2 children and my husband. And I think our favorite trip so far has been when we went to Secondment in Namibia.
Oh,
of course, you can imagine.
I love it.
all that adventure that we got to do. It was just such a beautiful holiday that we had. So I love adventure all the time. I'm always willing to do. And I think as I get older, actually, I get more and more scared. So I'm like to them, guys, I need to do this stuff, because the longer we take without doing them, as I get older, the more scared I become.
Sure. What's the most adventure? Before we get to the second destination, from an adventure perspective, what's the most extreme you have done?
Skydiving.
I
hope my insurance is not listening.
Okay,
skydiving with my daughter.
Sure.
Of course, the men chose not to.
Sure.
Yeah, they just watched.
Ish, Mauti, Majita. And sometimes we don't want to test things, eh?
Yeah.
Second destination.
The second one for me, honestly, I have this place just outside of Joburg in Centurion, actually, in the Bundu somewhere. It's a wellness retreat center. And I just love it, because that's where I go to spend time with myself.
Okay.
And that's where recently I was when I read this book about soulmates.
Soulmates.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So, Mayor Deli, our conversation today is really around breaking barriers. And even just the term breaking barriers for me doesn't really sit quite well. But for the lack of a better term, I'll use it as breaking barriers. Yeah. Being the first female chief executive in the banking fraternity in Lesotho. Yeah. One of the first. In fact, as we're speaking offline, you mentioned that the other CEs who've just joined the banking fraternity, but like, you get what I mean? But I want to take it all the way back, because I believe that every story behind every leader, there's a story and there's a beginning. Yeah. So growing up in Maseru, Ha Tsosane, what was your What was your upbringing like?
Okay, so funny enough, I actually went to live Ha Tsosane.
Okay.
Actually, when I went to do my first university, that's when actually we moved to Ha Tsosane. But before then, being a child of a police officer, we always stayed at one of the police campuses. So for the longest time, we were staying at Garden Center. That area.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So, sure. I think for me, growing up with my mom being a primary school teacher and my father being, may his soul rest in peace, being a police officer, you can imagine it was a family of disciplinarians, but with so much love, I must say. It's so funny that I knew whatever time that my father got home in the evenings after work, when his car got to the gate, by the time he got into the living room,
Sure.
his tray of tea was waiting for him.
Sure.
That's just how I grew up. But I suppose the lessons there were obviously you're a teacher's child, a police officer's child, and that there's expectations from society that you should be a well-behaved child, well-behaved children from that family. So I suppose it's just always been that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And as growing up in that environment where the expectations were there, teachers, your mom is a teacher, your dad is a policeman, so discipline is a key. The pressure to perform academically, was that also there? And how did you deal with that at the time?
I have to be fair and honest to say that, like any other parents, I suppose the expectation was always that you do well. But there was also an appreciation that each person is different. And therefore, you can't treat everyone the same way in the house. So I've never really been an A student per se. I just always try to do my best. Yeah, and it was accepted.
It was accepted.
Yeah.
And I think when you're talking about doing your best, there's a part where I think it was an interview with Lesotho Times where you mentioned, Hore, when you were completing high school, you didn't qualify to get into university. What's your relationship with failure?
Sure. Yeah, no, life will humble me. So for me, I distinctly remember that time from 5, you just wrote, results come out, all your friends, you're also excited that you will be going to now and finally growing up. And boom, what happens? I did not qualify for acceptance into now. And I literally had to go SAP. But how I did that was to actually go do matric from scratch in SA in Bloemfontein. And I suppose from that time on, I learned, number one, that there is a time for everyone. Everyone has their own timing. It's like it's already pre-planned, right? And everything will happen at its own time. Therefore, you're not in competition with anyone.
You're not in competition.
You're not in competition with anyone. You are just going to do things your own way, your own time, and you're always going to give it your best. And I was successful. I managed to go to Wits University. I mean, at that time, it was, not the easiest thing for most people to go and get into those highly regarded SA universities. So I was like, so this is how life works?
This is the curveball.
The curveball, right?
Yeah.
So I'm exactly where I'm meant to be then. Yeah.
I don't, at the risk of being attacked by vet students or alumni, being a tax boy, there's always been that beef between which school is better, add UJ into the mix, UCT. So it's always an interesting debate. So I was like, I'm sitting next to somebody from Wits because they do have the edge. So they claim to,
You know what we used to say? Wits does not give you the edge, it pushes you over the edge.
It pushes you over the
That's
edge.
what I was gonna say.
I suppose mental health wise, hey, we must check that. Anyway, so you also mentioned that growing up, there was a lot of love in the family. And you mentioned that your parents treated you guys differently. How important is family to you? And what kind of support and love how did it manifest amongst your siblings in the household?
So there is 4 of us at home. And I'm actually a sister to the youngest of us is my brother, who I'm actually 10 years older than.
Sure.
So you can imagine, literally, I raised him as my baby. I raised him as my baby because for most of the time, my sister was already in school and busy with her own life. So I suppose as women, we learn at a young age to be nurturing and to just have those kind of responsibilities. But I must say, there are also very, very stark differences in siblings. There will always be that one person who is we call them the black sheep. I don't know why black, but who goes their own direction. Sure. And for me, I've had to live with that for quite a long time. But I've learned, I suppose, the power of acceptance and that we are not the same and we should value individuals for what they bring and who they are. And I think for me also just learning that we have choices to make, as I've said already.
Choices. I think that's the
it's
key.
about choices.
Yeah, choices.
And therefore, depending on what you choose, you should be ready to accept the consequences, I suppose, that those choices come with. But overall, I love my siblings. I love my family. I am closest to my sister, and my baby brother is my baby, as I said. So yeah, it's great. Such a blessing.
Such a blessing. Yeah. Such a blessing. And you also did mention that now your immediate family, your 2 kids and the husband, you are forever spending time with them as well. So I can tell that family is one of the values that literally ground you.
I mean, can you imagine without family, who are we? At the end of the day, at your lowest, at your darkest, who is there for you? It's your family.
Your family.
It's your family. So they're very important. I'm not a person who surrounds myself with big circles of people. That's just not who I am. So for me, I value deep relationships. And of course, family is very important for me then.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So you were at Wits studying, you at Wits and then you decide, okay, my life has restarted. Well, I've reset my life. I now know where I'm going. What inspires what course you study? I know you studied finance. What got you into finance? And what about finance was appealing to you at the time?
I did not choose it. It chose me.
Oh, wow. I'm always so taken aback when people say, no, it chose me. How did it choose you? Yeah, sure. I know, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd actually applied for BCom Law and information systems. So when I got to Wits, I actually started with information systems. I'm telling you, first semester, I realized, no, this is definitely not me. And I chose the finance route then.
Okay.
I suppose it was just one of the choices that were there. I can't imagine if I chosen law. Certainly, again, that is not me. Which is why then I say perhaps this is what I was meant to do. Then.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And then now you graduate eventually after you've completed your studies and then your career starts. Oh. From a graduate trainee at the other bank where you started. Yeah. How was that for you? And how did you talk us through your career journey? And the second question to that is, were you intentional about curating your career path?
So, fun fact, before I actually joined the bank where I first started as a graduate trainee, I was actually an accounting teacher for 4 months.
Accounting teacher?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So immediately in January, when life resumed, I suppose, after festive season in 2004, I was fortunate enough to actually get a job as a teacher in accounting. I absolutely had the best 4 months until very quickly then that opportunity to be a graduate trainee came. And I was a graduate trainee for 2 years. No, sorry, for a graduate trainee for just about 9 months. And in December of that year, I actually then got formally appointed as a treasury dealer. 2 years into that role, then came this opportunity to actually be the manager in that role, in that department. And funny enough, at that time, and I think this is where the love of starting new things for me began. I absolutely love starting new things, growing them to a certain point, and then handing them over to be grown bigger.
Oh, okay.
That's just how I've always done in my career.
Okay.
So fast forward, having been a manager in treasury and having started actually quite successful businesses within that division, 10 years later, I decide, I've learned about all I can. I've done about all I can. And it's time to learn new skills. And I said, what do I not know in this bank? And I realized I actually do not know credit. So then I raised my hand and I said, can I please go do something in credit? Fortunately enough, just at that point, the bank was setting up a division for corporate and investment banking credit. And I joined that team. I stayed in it for about, all in total in credit, I spent 2 years. But about 9 months of those 2 years, I then got an opportunity for a secondment in head office in Johannesburg. I only lasted 9 months.
What happened? What happened? 9 months.
So when I was there, I get a call. I get an opportunity to say, you know what, we've been looking for you for so long. We understand that you've been able in the past to start very successful treasuries. And can you please come back home and start treasury for FNB Lesotho?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I wouldn't mind going back home.
I don't say no.
So it was all in the making, I suppose. So I came back home and I started treasury, and that was in 2016. And in 2020, I got fortunate enough to then participate in the recruitment of a new CEO for FNB Lesotho. And that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years.
I'm gonna pause it there a bit, and I want to go back to that transition from working in corporate Lesotho and then corporate South Africa, though it was only 9 months. What were there any challenges that you experienced when transitioning? Yes, granted you had studied in South Africa, varsity-wise, but working in Lesotho and working in South Africa, what were the differences for you and how did you navigate that?
I honestly must say that it's very different to when you are obviously part of a big group now and then. So you're used to working with different people from a group point of view, your colleagues from other countries, from the center point of view. But for me, the stark difference was actually being there and the differences in culture. You know, at home, when you get to the office in the morning, you greet, you chat, and you catch up. And I suppose for me, I found that lacking. So I only then discovered how important actually that was for me as part of my working environment, to know the people that you're working with and to have a relationship with them. Yeah.
And As did you ever feel lonely in that moment? Because I've heard a couple of people who relocated from Lesotho permanently and moved into corporate South Africa. And some of the things that they feel is back to the culture that people don't greet, people are basically islands, hauna culture ya ho dumedisana, you know? And they'll say that I actually feel lonely in this particular role cup organization that I'm in. Yes, I'm part of the greater team, but I feel lonely. Have you ever experienced anything to that effect? Or if you have, how did you navigate it? The culture shock in that instance?
I think I was fortunate enough that the team that I worked with, it was close, I suppose, being in Africa sort of division within the bigger scheme of things. And I also had friends who came from Lesotho actually who were working there at the moment. So I had a good group of people that I surrounded myself with, but it was different.
Different, good.
Different than being at home. Listen, every experience is always good.
Sure.
You always learn and come out a better person.
Sure.
It's just about preferences, I suppose.
And choices.
Yeah.
I want to ask another question that I thought was interesting from the 9 months in SA. For FNB Lesotho to call you and say, we know you have a good reputation of starting something new, and we want to invite you back. What did you do in order to position and brand yourself as that?
Sure. So now when I reflect and I look back, whatever role that I've been in, it's actually been for quite a while. If we think about it, when I started as a treasury dealer, that was 2 years, then moved into a managerial role, but then started businesses within that division. And I spent around just over 10 years in that role. And, when you start something from scratch and you build it up, and what makes the difference is the team with which you build that business with.
The team.
So for me, I think it's always been about the team and being able to support your team so that they're able to actually realize their full potential and deliver to the best of their abilities. I think for me, that's just what builds great teams.
Sure.
And then I look at the opportunity that I got to then set up that credit division, because before then it was all encompassed in the bigger credit division at that time. And again, I think it was about the team. Who do you bring into the team? How do you support them? And how do they then deliver for the bigger goal?
Sure.
Fast forward, FNB Lesotho. There was not really a treasury, and my core mandate was to start it from scratch and build it up. Again, it's about building a team. I realize it's always about building teams. And I suppose now in my current role, I literally spent the first 18 months as CEO building up a new team. Which is the now current FNB Lesotho executive team as we know it. And you then asked, do I deliberately set out my career path? For me, it's about knowing how to start something, building it up, then knowing when it's time to let it go, that you've used your full potential to get it to where it is, and it's time to hand it over, I suppose.
Sure.
So that it can be done even better and bigger.
Wow.
That's how I look at it.
Wow. 20 years. In fact, when you became CE, it was around 16 years of being in the industry.
So it's 21 years, actually.
This is the 21st year.
Yeah.
How have you managed, before you even became CE, and now that you are CE, how have you managed to stay relevant? To say, I get that call, I get the secondment to South Africa, 9 months into the role, I get the offer to come back to Lesotho, start the FNB Lesotho Treasury Department. You now are part of the recruitment of the FNB CE. But what has been your staying power to say that Kile Medeli, this is how I evolve? Because banking has evolved. Banking is constantly evolving. How are you staying abreast of all those changes, but also still staying relevant as a leader, as a person, as an individual?
So, yeah, sure. Banking has evolved and it will continuously evolve. But I think the fundamentals and the principles, they stay the same. As I said, for me, surrounding myself with a team that I know I am able to support so that they in turn can carry out the mandate. It's very critical for me. And those are the core principles and fundamentals for me. That's where it starts. And that's what makes the difference. It's the people.
The people.
It's not the technology. It's not the products and the services. It's the people. For me, that's absolutely critical to get that right. And continuous learning. You know how we have to keep learning? How does it go? You learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Relearn, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And doing that academically is obviously important, which is why I decided to go enroll for my master's in business leadership. And just recently, actually, last year, I did the Harvard Business School Senior Executive Leadership Program for Africa. That was absolutely interesting. I loved it. But in between, as I said, I'm always reading something. And I think it's about that continuous learning and different types of books because it exposes you to so much knowledge and to so much different thinking than to your own. And that's how we get to learn.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Continuous learning. Talking about continuous learning, we're going to take a quick break. But before we go to the break, let us know what your questions and comments are about this conversations. We're talking about breaking barriers and where a lot of women suddenly feel like they're qualified, but they don't really take up those opportunities. So after the break, we're gonna delve deeper into your journey to becoming, I want to call it the road to becoming CE, and then life after you became CE, and then we can wrap up the conversation. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. I'm learning so much. I always feel like this is a masterclass. So if you have not taken a pen and a paper and jotting down notes, I'm questioning if you're serious about your growth and your leadership. We will be back in a short bit. Remember, this show is also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And remember to like and comment on YouTube so that we can grow the Trailblazer community. This is where it's at. We will see you in a short break. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know that over 40% of employed Basotho earn less than 2,500 per month and often make uninformed financial decisions? Join us and we will help you navigate the complexities of managing finances. Imagine tailored financial solutions and transformative educational programs designed to eradicate financial uncertainty. We aren't just consultants, we are dedicated partners accompanying you on your journey to financial freedom. TKO Financial Wellness, where your success is our decisive victory.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the Open Korner podcast. My name is TK Ntebe, and we are talking breaking glass ceilings with Delekazi Mokebe, CEO of FNB Lesotho. So wherever you're watching from, this is not a Lesotho conversation, it's an African leadership conversation. And she has really just shared such amazing insights, nuggets of wisdom on how she's navigating life, business, leadership, and so much more. So the second half is really going to delve into her becoming the CEO of FNB Lesotho. And before we even get into the meat and potatoes of that conversation, Medeli, a lot of women who are qualified, right? Qualified for different positions at different levels. They, compared to men, they tend to be very critical about I want A, B, C, D, and Z. And they'll have 99% of them and lack one thing and usually will not apply. Whereas a guy, from the studies that I've read, is a guy with 50% confidence, he'll jump in and apply. For you, when that opportunity to be recruited as CEO of FNB Lesotho, what did you go through and what was your experience?
Yeah, I remember that experience just as if it happened yesterday. It was quite intense and it happened very quickly. So there was 3 of us competing for this role, all within the FNB Lesotho executive team at that time. And funny enough, it was with 2 gentlemen.
So you're the only woman.
I was the only lady.
Sure.
Yes. The intensity of it in such a short space of time, to be interviewed by the board, to be interviewed by the restaurant group executives, to have to prepare a case study and a presentation and all the good things that come with it. It was absolutely nerve-breaking.
Sure.
But as usual, I raised my hand and I said to some of the people who I knew could help me prepare for it, to say, I actually need help. I need help navigating this. And I actually made time. They made time for me, and we sat down and we prepared. But I'm telling you, even with that preparation, the actual happening of it was quite different.
Sure.
I have to say, it's still one of the most nerve-wracking things that I've gone through. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you mentioned that you, at some point, you're like, I need to ask for help.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are very proud and sometimes do not want to. When you got to that point to say, I can do what I can do, but at this point, in order for me to be at my absolute best, I need someone to help me, right? What's your take on the role of mentorship and coaching?
It is so important because you can imagine if you only do things the way that you know how to without tapping into other people's experiences, which is what mentoring for me is. Having that someone else who knows something extra that you just don't know. And you get to sit around and have a conversation and say, what's your approach and take on this and that? It gives you such a view into different ways of thinking. And I think for me, throughout my career, at least I try to continuously mentor my team without even formally saying this is a mentorship relationship that you're having. Because, every single day, whether we see it or not, whether we intentionally do it or not, we are mentoring people.
Very true.
Very true.
Very true.
Yeah? So it's important to share that knowledge and to share those experiences.
When you were preparing to present to the board and to the first ranked executive, back to that inner voice that was there, what was that voice saying versus the imposter syndrome? Do you have issues with the imposter syndrome? And what was happening internally as you were saying, I'm in this journey. It's happening very quickly, but I'm also not sure, I'm nervous. And then there's that voice sitting here that says, who do you think you are? Do you qualify? You're undeserving of this. Yeah. Do you have issues do you deal with the imposter syndrome, and how do you navigate that for yourself?
All the time. I think most of us live with it, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's always there. For me, it's about reminding myself of what I am able to do and just saying, girl, you can do this.
Girl, you can do this.
You can do this. For me, it's about, so when that opportunity came, I thought to myself, what's the worst that can happen? There are only two outcomes. That's how I look at life. It's either I get it or I don't get it. If I get it, well done. Let's see what we can make of it. If I do not get it, then what did I learn out of it?
What did I learn out of that?
And what do I take forward to make myself better? So it was like, right, let's do this. As afraid as I was, it's like, what's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen? Two choices.
There are only two outcomes that can happen.
And fortunately, the outcome was a yes.
The outcome was
a yes. Congratulations on that. So now, transitioning from the nerve-wracking experience from I used to build teams, I'm a performer, now you are the whole CEO. How do you transition from where you were, your previous role, into this big role that also comes with the added pressure of and titles? Yeah, the first CEO of Lesotho. Sure. Sometimes I feel like the media can also really blow things way out of proportion, adding another level of pressure. How did you navigate that transition And what strategies were you applying on a daily basis to keep yourself grounded? I think basically the question I'm asking is, what keeps you grounded in those moments of spotlight, attention, and?
It's real, hey? It is very real. But if I look back at the experience, so this was in June of 2020, COVID, lockdown had just been announced. I think it was just announced end of March.
March, yes.
Yes, so now you're walking into this new role. It's COVID. Everyone is working from home. And you have to build a team.
Virtually.
But you know what? I would not change a thing about it. And remember, at the same time, people are dying around you. Lives are being destroyed. Families are heartbroken, yourself included, because at some point we are all affected and impacted. So there has never been a time that has taught me so much resilience than that 2020 year.
Sure.
And knowing that as human beings, we have the capability and the capacity, actually.
Capability and capacity.
Capacity
actually, as well.
To carry so much load and actually be able to deal with it. If there's anything that COVID taught us, it's exactly that. So I suppose then, having gone through that and having come out of it, and here we are today, and we're building an even stronger brand, an even stronger bank, we know that it is possible.
How would you define your leadership style?
My leadership style, I actually prefer to be in the background, supporting. I'm not a limelight type of person. But I also know and appreciate that with the role that I'm in, it requires of me to take myself out there.
Sure.
So it's about, for me, knowing how to balance the requirements of the role and the needs that I as Dele have. You know, when you know what drains your energy, then you're able to deal with that. And you know when to retreat, right? And then you come out, you're like, okay, it's just like swimming. You know how we go in and out, and you breathe.
You breathe.
You breathe.
And talking
and
about
to take the time.
To take the time and the balance that you mentioned earlier on, traditional roles require that women, you mentioned earlier on, Jorge, the girl child is taught to nurture, right? So now that you are a mom, you are a CE, you are a sister, you are a wife, you are a friend, how do you juggle all those roles? And is there such a thing as balance?
No, what is that? I don't think there's such a thing as balance. It's about successfully navigating your landscape. That's, I suppose, what balance is. So look, you are a different person. Know that you have multiple personalities. Please, I hope no one gets me wrong. But you know what you have to bring to different situations. Whilst still maintaining your core principles of life, of who you are as a person. So I know that I need to show up differently in different situations and in dealing with different circumstances, but still staying true to who you are.
Staying true to who you are.
So you asked me earlier, what is my leadership style? And I say to you, I actually prefer to be a supporter. That's, for me, where I find my greatest joy. When I'm looking at people who have been able to support and are successful. That, for me, that's it. That's what the job is about.
Yeah.
I'm the activator.
Activator. I'm like,
thank you.
Realize your fullest potential. Activator. And silently nudging and pushing. And I think it ties in so nicely to what you said, that sometimes you will be mentoring somebody, whether it's from your end, you'll see the potential and you'll say, "How do I formalize?" But I will keep mentoring you because I see the potential that you have. Therefore, I'm going to support you and nudge you to become the best version of yourself. So I think it's the activator.
No, it's an activator. There's nothing as rewarding as watching someone who actually did not believe that they could do this. And you nudge them, and they eventually say, "Yes, I can do this."
Yes,
and
I
you
can.
watch them flourish.
Oh my God.
And become the best version of
Oh,
themselves.
I love that. I love that. And talking about that also goes hand in hand with accountability.
Yeah.
So when you are nudging this person to get to see the fullest potential and they're not stepping up, how important is accountability and holding people accountable for you and within the work and the role that you do as a leader?
It's very important. So with these roles comes accountability and responsibility. And I think we owe it to the businesses that we run to make sure that they're sustainable. And for them to become sustainable, it means that we have to hold each other accountable. So with opportunities come accountability, unfortunately. Or fortunately enough. So when you entrust people, because remember that's what it's about, it means I'm trusting you. We are contracting to say, I will give you this opportunity to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Come back to me. Let's catch up regularly and tell me at any point in time if you're not able to deliver on those.
Sure.
So I think it's about that constant communication to say, this I thought I would be able to do, but it seems due to 1, 2, 3, 4, I will not be able to do that. That's where the accountability part comes in. Because otherwise you can imagine as leaders, if we do not hold each other accountable, if we do not hold our teams accountable, then what businesses would we be running?
None. There'll be nothing. No performance.
Yeah.
No performance. I would imagine that being a CEO also becomes a very lonely journey where you are a boss, but you're not cool enough to hang out with certain people because having also been the chairperson of the Bankers Association of Lesotho, predominantly male as well. Do you as a CEO feel lonely? And how do you manage that? How do you handle where you have to make very tough decisions? Yes, you spoke about mentorship, but where do you draw strength when things are tough and you feel like you have nobody to speak to or nobody that can understand the intensity of that?
I will say yes, being a CEO is lonely. I did not actually think much of it until I was in the position. And I remembered one of the industry executives or CEOs who I used to work with previously, when he had said, Dele, being a leader, being a CEO is such a lonely job. You must check in on us frequently. It only registered how many years later?
Sure.
When I was actually in this role. So it's important that you surround yourself with people that you can actually talk to. It's very important. So number one, your own peers that you can reach out to. So I'm one of those people. I always raise my hand and ask for help. If I don't know, I don't know. It's as simple as that. So I suppose it's great working for a bigger group as I do, that I'm able to tap in and reach out to my other CEO colleagues and ask for help and just even a conversation to say, how do you tackle this and this? I'm currently going through this. You've been through it for so many years. So it's important.
Sure.
I think in your personal life as well, I've recently just appreciated that just as you have a lawyer you have a landscaper, you have a whatever. You actually need a therapist.
You need a therapist.
Full time.
Interesting, because in the conversation we had, Lemi Mamela as well, making reference to episode 1, where we're speaking about spiritual intelligence, especially in business, she mentioned the importance of having a therapist as well. But in her context, as a spiritual healer, it was also important for her to find a therapist who's also a spiritual healer, where she doesn't have to explain herself, but she emphasized not spirituality, the importance of therapy. So I'm glad that you also bring it up to say you need a person now.
No, listen, it's wellness. It's very important. If we're to be well-delivering leaders in our different spheres and businesses, and just as individuals, just to be successful in life, we carry so much on us, with us, that you have to be able to offload somewhere. And yes, you will have your friends, your trusted group of people. But I honestly just recently rediscovered, I suppose, because remember I said we learn and relearn and unlearn the importance. So I encourage everyone to find someone to talk to. If you're able to, then even better if it's professionally. A psychologist or wherever you can find, a social worker, So I really would just encourage that we take those opportunities.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that reminder as well. I think before we get to the last part of the conversation, I wanted to ask Rona, what makes you tick?
What makes me tick? I think I've said this already. I somehow have the opportunities most of the time in my career to start something new, build it, and live it better than it was before. Live it in a state where the next person who takes it over is able to make it even bigger and better.
Sure.
That's what makes me tick.
I love that. I wanted to ask that deliberately just to connect the full circle. So as we get closer to the end of our conversation, I want to talk about legacy, whether it's within FMB or your own personal life or greater society at large, Yeah. So if you were to go back to your younger self at age 25 or possibly age 12, what would you say to that version of you? With what you now know and the experiences that you have made now, that you have gained now.
It's not so scary.
It's not so scary. Okay.
But you know what? That's what it's about for me. We all have this fear of the unknown. And we don't even know what we're fearing, but we're just so fearful. So imagine if you're just to forge ahead and say, what is the worst that can happen?
It's either yes or no.
It's either yes or no. There's always a learning in everything.
Sure.
You can only come out better. So honestly, to that 12-year-old girl, to that 25-year-old woman, I would just say, girl, you can do this.
Girl, you can do this.
And it's possible. For me, the legacy that I want to leave for all our young women, African women, is that it is possible. If I've done it, so can you.
If I've done it, so can you.
If our grandmothers have been successful in their own ways, our mothers, our aunties, so can you. But remember, it's in your own way. It's in how you define success for yourself, not how society dictates it for you, and not the pressures of what success looks like, but actually in terms of how you define it for yourself. And for me, how I define success for myself is in making that contribution to someone's life that they can actually have a real impact and touch people's lives. It's funny, we don't think that in banking you can actually be able to touch people's lives, but that's what we do every single day.
Bank of the changeables.
Hashtag Bank of the changeables.
Bank of the change.
We impact lives positively.
I think I love that, because oftentimes we see banks or financial institutions as profit-making organizations. So from an F&B perspective, as the CEO, maybe delve deeper into that, just for us to really appreciate, because oftentimes haribone, but the fact that I'm able to send you a bank transfer, an e-wallet, or whatever the case may be, that is impact, because there's inclusion, there is somebody who's depending on that income to have bread at the end of the night, or food at the end of the night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always tell the team that what we do is so impactful in people's lives. Can you imagine that business person who, if you had not helped, they would not have been able to build their businesses from a small business up to a level where they're able to employ thousands of people. So when we bring ourselves to work every day, remember, it's about how am I going to positively impact people's life. Whether you're in the back office or in the front, what you do matters. It has a significant impact on people's lives. And for us as FNB Lesotho employees, through our talents, we help Lesotho to build a future of shared prosperity.
Sure.
That's what we have to wake up to every single day. If it does not have an impact, if it does not touch someone's life positively, then what are we doing?
Natalie, I don't want to water down that, but I want to ask one last question, particularly to the girl child and the boy child, actually, who is listening to this podcast and listening to us speak. What advice do you want to leave them with? I know you had already given nuggets of wisdom, but as a closing, just for us to wrap up this conversation, what advice do you want to give to this young Mosotho, young African, young global citizen living in this time, to say that from you to them, what advice do you want to give them, especially now when things seem difficult? We're navigating so many issues in society, employment, and what message do we want to leave them with to wrap up this conversation?
It's bigger than you. I think simply that's how I would put it. And remember that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you are a leader in your own right. Leadership does not mean that you are sitting or holding a certain position. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, you are a leader in your own right. And you actually can change and touch people's lives. Hence, I say it's bigger than you. It's about the bigger picture and actually how you use what you have and what you can do to actually impact the next person, who in turn is then having a bigger impact. So it propels.
It propels
that change. So that's what I just want to say, that you are a leader within your own right. Do not wait to be led, but lead. Show the way. And remember that it's bigger than you.
It's bigger than you. Mary Deli, thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you so much for opening up about your life, your journey, your fears, your accomplishments, your milestones. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the Open Korner podcast on this beautiful, cold Monday morning.
What a blessed Monday.
What a blessed Monday.
Thank you so much for such a great conversation. I absolutely appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is absolutely up to you. And that also involves you hitting the subscribe button, sharing this with as many trailblazers as possible so that this message can reach, inspire, and hopefully change and impact somebody's life positively. This show is available on YouTube. It's also available on Apple and Spotify. So you can listen on demand. You can watch when you have time. But what's also important is for you to really use the information that we have shared here to improve, to learn, to relearn, and to unlearn. A big shout out to my team behind the camera, Mosotho Photography, on the audio for Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Biza Street Inc., and also me, the host of this show. Because sometimes it's up to me. It's up to me. But what's also exciting is now we have also launched the newsletter version of it on LinkedIn. So be sure to check out that particular newsletter because we share nuggets, which summarizes everything that we speak about on this channel. Until the next one, love, peace, and money. Stay trailblazing and take care of yourself. And remember, it's up to you. You can lead. I will see you guys in episode 6. Cheers.